Before I get into this video, I want to clear something up. Fellow NBA YouTubers Swishout and Rusty Buckets both made videos on NBA loyalty recently, and I think both guys are quality YouTubers, and I liked both videos. It's not that I don't agree with what these quality YouTubers had to say, because I do agree to a certain extent. Social media, among other aspects, have had an impact on NBA players and their free agency decisions. Young athletes today prioritize different things than athletes of years past. The game has changed, just like people change. But beyond all of those aspects is one major reason why player loyalty is now dead in the NBA. So let's break it down. The CBA stands for Collective Bargaining Agreement. The Collective Bargaining Agreement, or CBA, is essentially the overarching contract that determines all the nuances of how the NBA works. The employment terms, the distribution of all the money that comes in, and so on. It's an agreement between the Players Association, the NBA Commissioner, and the 30-team governors of the league. Every handful of years, the NBA gathers its heads together to agree upon a new CBA. There was a new CBA in 2011 that lasted until 2017, and now we're in the latest CBA that began in 2017 and will run through the 2023-2024 season, meaning that until 2024, NBA contract rules aren't changing. There will still be the Supermax, there will still be bird rights, you can still exceed the salary cap if you're signing players to minimum contracts, the max length that you can sign a player is still a maximum of 5 years, and so on with many other details. In 2024, they'll agree on a new CBA. Inevitably the game will change, and the NBA will continue to evolve as it has throughout the years. So now that we understand how the league's logistics work and change throughout the years, let's take a look back through the NBA's history. Before 1976, free agency didn't even exist in the NBA, meaning that star players like Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain were stuck on the team that drafted them unless they were traded. That's not loyalty, that's just circumstances. Why would a general manager feel compelled to trade his best player when there is no risk of losing him in free agency? If you're a general manager in those days, essentially the only reasons you would trade your best player is if you don't like him personally, or if you thought you could get a better player in return. Nowadays, players have a lot of control in them being traded. A player can demand a trade, and the team executives have to honor that, or else they risk losing him to another team when he becomes a free agent and gaining nothing in return. So in the olden days, players were often stuck with the teams that drafted them. But thanks in large part to Oscar Robertson and many others involved, NBA free agency and player mobility was born in 1976. With that being said, contracts were still far from what they are today. In 1981, Magic Johnson signed a 25-year, $25 million contract with the Lakers. Basketball players don't even play that long. A few years later, Magic Johnson could have approached Jerry Buss and said, "Hey Jerry, I'm killing it out here winning championships for the Lakers, but I'm getting pretty frustrated at people saying that I can't win a championship without Kareem. You need to trade me or else I'm signing with another team in free agency so that I can prove myself." To which Jerry Buss would have responded, "You know what, Magic? That's a risk we're willing to take. We won't trade you, and you can feel free to test the free agency market."
In 20 years.
Furthermore, in 1988, Michael Jordan signed an 8-year deal that lasted throughout much of the 90s. In 2004, Kobe Bryant signed a 7-year deal with the Lakers. Do you notice a trend that's happening with these contracts throughout the years? Yep, they're getting shorter. Kobe had a player option in the 5th and 6th year of that 7-year contract. Other than Kobe, Jordan didn't have any player options in his contract. Magic didn't have any player options in his contract, and obviously the players of the 60s and early 70s didn't either, since free agency wasn't even a thing at that point. Now star players can sign contracts that last a maximum of 5 years. With the way free agency works in today's modern NBA, players often sign max contracts that last 4 to 5 years. But even with that being said, they often have a player option in as early as the 3rd year of their contract. Remember Kobe's 7-year contract that I mentioned that he signed in the summer of 2004? He signed that contract with optimism, right after the Lakers had traded Shaq to the Miami Heat, and Kobe believed the Lakers would be able to build a championship contender around him. Well, the Lakers were in rebuild mode for quite a while, and there was a severe lack of talent around Kobe for the next couple years. By the 2007 offseason, Kobe was so fed up with it that he was demanding a trade. But if Kobe was playing under the modern free agency terms, he wouldn't have even needed to demand a trade. He simply would have exercised his player option in the third year of his contract. Boom! There you have it. Kobe is in another jersey and is no longer spending his entire career as a Los Angeles Laker. The loyal player tag is now non-existent for Kobe Bryant. But because Kobe had many years left on his contract, the Lakers refused to trade him. A year later, they acquired Pau Gasol in a trade, and suddenly, Kobe no longer wanted to leave the Lakers. If the Lakers had been playing under modern free agency logistics, they wouldn't have been able to tell Kobe no, and they wouldn't have had time to make the moves to build a contender that would appease him. That's the biggest difference between free agency now and free agency in years past. General managers have less time than ever before to appease their star players with a talented roster. The commitments players make under the new collective bargaining agreement are incredibly small commitments compared to what they used to be. NBA free agency is now constructed in such a way that encourages player mobility, yet the players are the ones who are being blamed for not being loyal. It's easy to simply blame the players, but that's not it. Many people say it's all about the players and the money, but we see everywhere in the league that money often isn't the priority for today's players. Kawhi Leonard has sacrificed over $90 million in his last two moves from the San Antonio Spurs and from the Toronto Raptors. Everywhere around the league, players are sacrificing supermax contracts to play for other teams. Anthony Davis just waived a $4 million trade bonus just so his Lakers could acquire more talent in the offseason. Player mobility is in full force, and it's not just because players aren't loyal anymore or because they want more wealth. The logistics of the game have been changing for years, and many parties have been involved in that, from the players to the higher-ups to audiences included. If the NBA is ever going to get back to a place where players are staying with their respective teams longer, it's going to happen in 2024 when the new CBA is formed, which would need to include longer contracts with greater incentives for staying put. But hey, with all of these duos, and with all these new faces in new places, I gotta say, this is the most excited I've been for an upcoming season in a long time. Thanks for watching my video, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.